Today we kick things off with our international correspondent, the one, the only Alex Newman. Alex, thanks for your time today.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much, Duke.
I imagine your house, there's this only one big closet, Alex, and in that closet is nothing but hats. And you've added a new hat to your closet. You're running for public office.
Well, thank you, Duke. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not that I have a lot of time to do it, but I did decide to throw my hat in the ring for this race at the urging of a lot of the grassroots Republican leaders. So we'll see. I think we need a powerful voice for freedom in the Florida legislature. Unfortunately, the legislature's got a lot of Jeb Bush-style Republicans, and they've been fighting our governor on really critical issues. They haven't sent him a constitutional carry bill. They've passed these horrible laws giving hospitals immunity for whatever they do if they follow CDC guidelines. They act like they're some kind of superheroes because they passed a law protecting children ages 9 and under from transgender indoctrination and LGBT indoctrination. Excuse me, but what about 10-year-olds? What about 11-year-olds? What about 12-year-olds, right? We have some serious crises going on. And also, unfortunately, the Florida legislature has really not done much to resist what's coming down from Washington, D.C. So I've given up hope on Washington, D.C. as a source for solutions. That really is the source of our problems. And I'm hoping that at the state level, we can really turn this around. So that's why I threw my hat in the ring. We'll see what happens. But it's been exciting and a lot of fun so far.
Well, we certainly support you. And we have some more information today about why people like you are deciding to run. Public schools, to the surprise of nobody, are bleeding students. And so the response to that is to try to bully and intimidate parents to keep your kids into the public school. Explain this story.
It really is amazing, but it's not surprising. So you've got a school district, a county in Kentucky that has been deploying government agents to go harangue and pester and even threaten implicitly parents who are not sending their kids to school anymore and who've decided to homeschool. And so the HSLDA first broke this story. One of their attorneys talked about multiple parents from this area reporting that government agents were calling them and trying to encourage them to send their kids back to school, threatening that they were going to do follow-up home visits if the kids didn't show up at school. In one case, Duke, they even sent what was described as an unmarked white police car filled with government agents to go knock on a family's door and ask them why they weren't sending their kids back and tell them that they're missing all kinds of fun field trips, and they promised to follow up if the kids didn't end up back at school by sometime during the summer. So this is really outrageous. In fact, where I stay here on the coast of Florida, the government schools were sending out little postcards telling parents, hey, if you send your kids back to school, you'll get free laptops from the government, right? So all these crazy gimmicks and implicit threats, it's out of control, Duke, but they are terrified that with this exodus of students out of the schools, their budgets are going to be slashed. And I think they're right to be terrified.
I gave a anti-critical race theory talk down in East Troy, Wisconsin, small place, yesterday night. And we had a battery of 7 or 8 teachers sitting in the back. They usually never come. They sat there for 3 hours pouting. One of them even yelled at me, when are you going to let us talk? I had to tell her, somebody wants to hire you for a talk, you can have as much time as you want. Until then, sit down and shut up. And it was when they started to talk, it was exactly what you said, whining about how we were losing our students. We're losing money. We need kids in the public schools. To not let kids be in the public schools is to hurt them. We can't. It was a stunning display of selfish, narcissistic venality.
Duke, it's so funny that you mentioned that. I was actually in Indiana a few months ago, and I gave a talk there for an education organization. I think it was in Jennings County. And this huge, big block of teachers, all of them wearing their Red for Ed shirts, showed up. And it was very obvious that they were hostile. But they sat there patiently, I'd say, for about 30, maybe 40 minutes into my talk. And then they all stood up and started marching out. And one lady comes up and starts screaming at me about how she has a homosexual son, and I insulted him. And, of course, I did no such thing. I just showed what they were teaching in the schools. And so it looks like the unions and the government bureaucrats are starting to get very nervous, and they should be. I mean, after all of this abuse of children, all of this abuse of families, all of this threatening and indoctrination and dumbing down, they expect parents to just continue handing over their children and handing over the money. Well, frankly, it's not going to happen. I think you've pushed a lot of people too far, and showing up at speeches and basically threatening and intimidating and screaming at the people who are just pointing out what you're doing is not going to be an effective strategy for getting more children in these brainwash camps.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And my perception is, and from all the travel that I've been doing, that this isn't going to work. That the more you try to intimidate the parents, the more they're going to leave. That what all you are doing is reinforcing a mother and father's decision to remove kids when you start begging them or trying to bribing them, or heaven forbid, sending police cars full of government agents to try to harass them. I don't think you're going to convince anybody to bring their kids back.
I don't think so either. And so I think the next step, and we've talked about this for years now, Duke, their next step is going to be to really try to come after homeschoolers in a major way. They've already got their two chief ideologists, James Dwyer at William and Mary Law School, and then Elizabeth Bartholet at Harvard Law School, the head of the Child Advocacy Project, I think. And they're just coming out of the closet now. You've literally got the President of the United States, this was our story for Freedom Project last week, saying that they're all our children, and when the kids are in the classroom, they belong to you. Sorry, but no, that's not how this is going to work. Parents ultimately are in charge and responsible for their children. All the bullying, intimidation is not going to change that.